Imagine clinging to a £30 million mansion while the entire world watches your reputation crumble like week-old biscuits. That's Prince Andrew right now, and honestly, it's the kind of drama that makes reality television look like amateur hour. King Charles is finally putting his foot down. The eviction notices are practically writing themselves, and Andrew is desperately holding onto Royal Lodge like it's the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Except this Titanic has 30 rooms, dam problems, structural cracks, and an ex-wife who's also tangled up in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Buckle up, because this property dispute is about to get messier than a Christmas dinner with all your problematic relatives. So here's the situation, and it's absolutely wild. Prince Andrew, the man who thought a BBC Newsnight interview would clear his name and instead created one of the most catastrophic PR disasters in royal history, is still living in a £30 million residence with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. Yes, his ex-wife, the woman he divorced back in 1996. They are still living together nearly 3 decades later in this crumbling palace, and King Charles is finally saying enough is enough. It's like watching your sibling refuse to move out of the family home well into middle age, except the family home is a Grade I listed mansion, and your other sibling happens to be the King of England. Let's talk about Royal Lodge for a second, because this isn't just any property we're discussing here. This is a jaw-dropping 90-acre estate that's been in Andrew's possession since the Queen Mother died in 2002. That's over 2 decades of living in the lap of luxury while the rest of Britain struggles with a cost of living crisis. The property dates back to 1662, which means it's older than most countries and has probably seen more drama than a Bridgeton Marathon. It started as a humble garden house and evolved into this gigantic mansion with a white facade that screams, "I'm very important," and very expensive to maintain. But here's where it gets properly juicy. According to a report from US Weekly, and backed up with actual photographic evidence, Royal Lodge is currently ravaged by damp and cracks. The visible signs of wear and tear are apparently so bad that Andrew is now facing a repair bill running into the millions. Millions. To fix a house has been living in for free courtesy of the Crown Estate. It's like borrowing your mate's car, driving it into the ground, and then being shocked when they ask you to pay for the repairs. Except this isn't a car, it's a historic mansion, and your mate isn't just anyone, he's a literal king. The property might look magnificent from the outside with its grand exterior and amazing interiors, but underneath that polished surface, it's apparently falling apart faster than Andrew's public reputation. And that's saying something, considering his reputation has been in free fall since that Epstein scandal broke wide open. The father of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie is essentially living in a very expensive, very historical money pit, and King Charles has apparently decided is done funding this particular disaster. Now, suggestions of Andrew's eviction aren't exactly breaking news. This has been brewing since Queen Elizabeth II died, and Charles ascended to the throne. Andrew has reportedly been fighting tooth and nail to stay at this 19th century property, which sits on 90 acres and is owned by the Crown Estate. That's important. By the way, he doesn't actually own it. He's essentially the world's most privileged tenant, living in a property worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes, and is treating eviction notices like spam emails he can just ignore. Back in 2023, Sarah Ferguson was quizzed about the eviction rumors by Samara Garcia Mendez from Ola TV, and her response was absolutely classic Fergie. When asked about reports that she and Andrew will be moving into Frogmore Cottage instead, which for context is where Harry and Meghan used to live before they pieced out to California, Sarah casually replied, "Don't always believe what you read." It's the kind of non-denial denial that politicians dream of mastering. She didn't say it wasn't true. She just suggested we're all gullible for believing the press. Clever, but also not exactly reassuring when you're trying to convince people you're not about to be homeless, royal style. But here's the kicker that's really ramped up the eviction conversation recently. Sarah Ferguson has found herself under the spotlight again, and not in a good way, because of her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. A growing number of charities have dropped her faster than hot potatoes after that disturbing email from 2011 resurfaced where she called Epstein her supreme friend. Supreme friend. Not casual acquaintance, not unfortunate connection, but supreme friend. And now, with both Andrew and Sarah embroiled in Epstein-related controversies, the pressure for them to vacate Royal Lodge has intensified to absolutely explosive levels. Let's pause here and address the elephant in the room, or rather, the divorced couple in the 30-room mansion. Despite divorcing way back in 1996, before some of you watching this video were probably born, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson have chosen to cohabit together. They are living together, as exes, in the same enormous house. And apparently, both parties are completely fine with this arrangement, which is either the most mature post-divorce relationship ever or the most bizarre situation in modern royal history. Probably both. Speaking to USA Today, because apparently American media is where you go to explain your weird living situation to the world, the Duchess said, "Andrew and I, we're the happiest divorced couple in the world. Extraordinary, really, isn't it? We live in the same house, but then it's a big house, so that's okay. But I think it's really good that we believe in compromise and communication and compassion. And family. It's the kind of statement that makes you wonder if they ever actually fell out of love or just fell out of being married. They are basically still together, just without the legal paperwork and presumably separate bedrooms somewhere in that massive property." In an interview with The Telegraph, Sarah added this fascinating nugget. "When I'm in the UK, I'm lucky enough to stay at Royal Lodge. I wouldn't call it my home as that would be presumptuous. Wouldn't call it her home. She lives there with her ex-husband in a £30 million mansion. But it's not her home because that would be presumptuous. It's the kind of statement that only makes sense in the parallel universe that is royal life, where you can live somewhere for years but still feel like you need to clarify it's not technically yours because of titles and protocols and centuries of bizarre tradition. Now let's dive into what they're actually fighting to keep, because Royal Lodge isn't just big, it's absolutely spectacular. The property has had a chameleon past, evolving from that humble garden house in 1662 into this gigantic mansion that's basically the architectural equivalent of a glow-up that took several centuries. Photos show an impressive white facade that looks like something out of a Jane Austen adaptation. The large building boasts a conservatory, a terrace, and 21 acres of grounds. 21 acres. That's not a garden. That's basically a small farm attached to your house. And speaking of the grounds, they are currently home to Sandy and Muick, the late Queen Elizabeth II's beloved corgis that Andrew and Sarah adopted after her death. So not only are they fighting to keep this massive property for themselves, they are also housing the late Queen's dogs, which is either incredibly sweet or a strategic move to make evicting them look even worse. You're not just kicking out a disgraced prince and his ex-wife, you're kicking out the Queen's corgis. It's emotional blackmail via adorable dogs, and honestly, it might be the smartest thing Andrew's done in years. Over the years, mainly thanks to Sarah's now-defunct YouTube channel, because of course she had a YouTube channel, we've gotten glimpses into these glorious gardens. And let me tell you, it's a kind of outdoor space that makes everyone's lockdown garden projects look absolutely pathetic by comparison. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie grew up at Royal Lodge, Windsor, and there's actually a memento from their childhood still in the garden, a wooden swing engraved with Eugenie's name. It's hanging there, a sweet reminder when these grounds were filled with royal children playing, before everything got complicated and scandal-ridden. There are also 2 wooden benches positioned underneath the trees, creating these perfect little seating areas where you can probably contemplate your life choices while surrounded by 90 acres of prime Windsor real estate. Sarah once gave us a peek at the property's terrace when she was showing off a charity t-shirt. There's a patio area at the rear of the house with a wooden dining table and 2 benches where the family can sit outdoors and probably discuss how to avoid being evicted by the king. But wait, there's more, because this property is like a Russian nesting doll of ridiculous luxury. In the ground stands YBWTY and Bark, a Welsh cottage that was gifted to Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret by the people of Wales. It's a literal cottage within the grounds of the main property. A cottage, as a gift, that's been sitting there as basically a very expensive playhouse. The cottage has reportedly been renovated by Princess Beatrice, so we can assume Andrew and Sarah's grandchildren come to play there, which is adorable but also makes you realize just how much space we're talking about here. They have a whole separate building just for family gatherings and children's playtime. The question isn't really if Andrew will leave Royal Lodge anymore. It's when, and whether he'll go quietly or drag this out into an even bigger spectacle than it already is. Because if there's one thing we've learned about Prince Andrew, it's that he's never met a situation he couldn't make worse by refusing to read the room. And right now, the room is basically the entire United Kingdom saying, "Mate, just move out already." If you've made it to the end of this absolute saga, drop a like because this property drama is wilder than any real estate show on television. Subscribe to Royal Pancakes for more royal scandals that make your family drama look tame. And hit that notification bell because with this family, there's always another bombshell waiting to drop. Thanks so much for watching.